This is the Lean Builders Hoots on the Ground podcast with absolutely, positively no bullshito. Join us as we dig into exactly what lean construction is and how we can use these concepts and strategies in the field. This podcast will be different as we journey to job sites and mine the minds of lean builders, all in effort to pass forward building knowledge from those who have put their time in to learn a better way. Because that's just what lean builders do. What's up, y'all? Adam Hoots here, the Lean Builder Hoots on the Ground podcast, coming to you with no bullshito. Today, we're talking about respect for resources. And I know what you might be thinking. Didn't he mean respect for people? No, I did not. I meant respect for resources. I say this intentionally because people are resources. And sometimes this gets a little sticky. But before I dive in here, I want to go back and rewind to a few different episodes. The first few episodes that I've done solo were on trust and the importance of trust. And so if you haven't been there, always go back and start from those before you dive into these. There's also another one on accountability. And today on respect, mutual respect for resources, I think is huge and important. When I go back, and the whole purpose is to dive through some of the Lean Builder, the book, and you really go through, and they did a great job identifying different examples of where respect or even the lack of respect, when I think it was Sam was talking with the architect and hung up on the architect, and the architect felt terrible and came out. The other example in here was when Sam had two different schedules and he broke a lot of trust with his trade partners, and so therefore not respecting the people there. I can't ever emphasize how important it is to start with the trust episodes and then dive into the accountability episodes before you dive into here into the respect for resources. And if you've ever taken a Lean Builder workshop, Joe and Keon do an amazing job as they go through and they describe and actually put on for display what respect for people exactly means. The first 30 minutes of the workshop are them pulling data. They're really asking questions of the crowd to understand who's there, how they need to take the information that they have and best deliver it to those to be received. And so huge shout out there to those guys. Again, Joe and Keon in the Lean Builder workshops, and even the ones we do here in the Southeast. When we put them on, it's all about building a trust in the room so that we can hold each other accountable to deliver projects on time and under budget. That's what lean builders do. And so today, as we start talking about respect for resources, I don't want to be misunderstood because I do understand the value of people. Without people, nothing works. Without people, the tools don't run themselves, the processes don't work, the money doesn't transfer. It all starts with people. And so I understand the value that people bring. I also understand that people are resources. And sometimes this can get a little sticky. Sometimes this can be a little controversial, but people are resources that we need in order to get the projects complete, to get our projects built. Jobs don't build themselves. Now, I say people are resources because I want to start changing our mindset on what respect for people actually means. People have only so much capacity to give of their own bodies. At some point, that body will wear out. At some point, that body will perish. And so it's our job as leaders to utilize that body, that resource, that God given resource in the best manner possible to be most productive, to respect it for the long term, both inside the gate and outside the gate, as Jen and Jess would say. I do look at people as resources because I understand that they only have so much to give. And that's the definition of a resource, that they are a limited resource. They are the most valuable limited resource that is made available to us as human beings. And again, I don't want this to sound inhumane because I do understand how valuable and important people are. And as Sean Greystone so eloquently mentioned to me a few podcasts back, and again, the reason this has been on my mind is people are not an expendable resource, right? We can't just look at the relationship as if it's expendable, as if it doesn't matter. That is not what I'm saying here. I am saying that the amount of energy that one person has to exert into this world is a limited resource. And we as leaders must take advantage of that and have respect for resources. What exactly do I mean by respect for resources? I've taken the liberty to try and break this down into a few different categories for us to really dig a little bit deeper and understand what does that mean. And so the first category that I have on respect for resources is respect for people. Of course, again, 100% the most valuable resource that has been available to us is people. It's human capital. It's the expendable energy that one can take and put work into place. We must value that. And currently in construction, we're doing a terrible job at this. It's almost like the words respect for people have become cliche. And so they've started to bother me a little bit, kind of like that culture word. It is important. Respect for people's huge, but we have to know how to do it. We must not just talk about it, we must do it. Don't talk about it, be about it. That's a common saying in the Hoots household. If you've lived here for more than 3 days, you've heard that saying, I guarantee you. What does it mean? Like true respect for people. It's approaching every conversation, knowing that other human being has something to offer. It's digging and mining through what that person is telling you to better understand what situation they're in, where they're in outside the gate, where they're at inside the gate, where helping them come to where you are as a leader, being able to mine their minds and understand how can you help them be more successful at life. All sounds easy. How do you do it? Asking questions is key, right? I've put a couple of polls out there recently challenging leadership. How often do you ask the frontline questions? I got a lot of 7+ answer. The next poll that I'm going to put out here soon is what types of questions are those, right? Are they inquisitive questions? Or are they advocating questions? Are they open ended questions? Or are they close ended questions? Are we encouraging our trade workers to think? Are we allowing them the space and the opportunity to be psychologically safe to speak up and out when something is a roadblock, when something's stopping them from being productive? Do they have the channels? Do they have the right avenues to be able to get that information, get that flag up as high as they can so that the entire job is trying to solve it? That's respect for people. It's going out on the job site and putting your boots on before you boot up your computer, as an old saying at DPR used to be. Boot on before you boot up. Go out there, take 10 to shake 10. That's another phrase, or fist bump, or whatever it is. Go out there. One I like to challenge people with is don't be the last person to say goodbye on your phone calls. It's really hard, but there's always this struggle at the end of, all right, bye. Okay, yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, you have a great day. Yep, you too now. There's always that struggle. So give up control. And that, again, is one of the hardest things to do. But what it does to the other person is they feel so empowered, right? When you're able to lift other people, and don't worry, your lift is coming as well. But when you lift other people, that's the key to success. That's how you drive. Ultimately, again, the best leaders take no credit for all the good things and take all the credit for the bad things. That's just what lean builders do. That's how we operate. That's how we go. So again, respect for resources from the most important category is respect for people. Don't misplace my words. There are a few other categories that we have to consider, like respect for materials. When I dive into respect for materials, I'm thinking, okay, as a vendor, as a supplier, I don't want to overload the job with materials because then that places the burden on the people. I'm going to respect the resource such that I only put out there what's needed for a week or 2 weeks, as I'm kind of like the COVID thing has really got everybody a little freaked out. So maybe we're supplying for 2 weeks and we have a supermarket. Again, if you want to have the just in time discussion with me, I welcome that at any point. Just in time does work, along with the use of supermarkets and proper ordering techniques within the industry. I think we're in good shape. Just in time does work. Respect for materials also means as the flow happens through the project site, we're being cognizant of where we're placing materials. We're not putting materials out that will prohibit other people from getting work done. We are respecting other people's materials that are already installed. Also, we're respecting people's materials that aren't installed. We're thinking from another person's perspective and we're saying, okay, if I put my material in, if I install what I have to install, am I going to block somebody out from doing their work? Or am I going to make somebody else's work more difficult? Or am I going to make somebody else's work more unsafe so that they deliver a less quality product? These are all things that lean builders are thinking about as we're running through the space and we're getting work installed and we're respecting materials. The other obvious thing that I'm looking at is if I'm respecting other people's materials and I end up damaging somebody's work, I'm taking ownership for that. I'm immediately raising my hand and saying, I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. Let me take ultimate ownership and do whatever it takes in order to make it right. Moving on from respect for materials, I want to talk a little bit about respect for logistics. And so when I say this, I'm thinking about, okay, where am I placing the porta johns? Where am I placing the dumpsters? I had a job. I won't tell you the university. I won't tell you. I will tell you the superintendent's name was Jamarcus Riddle, and we always had a good time, always laughing around, like always made work enjoyable. One of the best superintendents I've ever worked with. Old school carpenter. Again, I referenced him in the Sean Greystone episode. He's the best carpenter on the East Coast. He'll tell you that himself. But anyway, coincidentally, he ended up placing the whole row of porta johns right in front of the director of facility at this university's office, and it just stunk up the world. And so, thinking about that from a logistical perspective, am I having respect for logistics? Am I placing my dumpsters in the right areas where things won't blow away, where hazards won't make themselves available? Am I thinking about the placement of the porta johns? Are we cleaning the porta johns on a daily basis, on a bi-daily basis? What does it take in order to keep a clean porta john? That is respect for logistics. Do I have a path identified for flow on the job site? Is there a road all the way around the project site where if I need to take a lift from A to B, I'm able to do that? Do I have a plan for in and out delivery logistics? Do I have a crane on site? What is the sign up procedure? Are we making our logistics visual in the trailer? All of these things really help to drive respect for logistics. If I got a muddy area on the outside, am I continuously supplying the construction entrance with stone, or do I instead take mud out onto the highway until the city inspectors come and say, hey, I need you to clean it up, and then I order the sweeper to get out there on the road? Or am I taking ownership of this and thinking from a victorious mindset and saying, I'm going to go ahead and get in front of it, and I'm going to do the right things properly in order to respect my logistics so that I respect my neighbors and flow happens on my job? Lastly, for respect on logistics, I can't tell you how many project sites that I can judge based on the fence fabric alone. Whether the fence looks good, looks tight. Sometimes you got erosion control around by the fence. Is it bellied out? Is it busting at the seams? Are there pools of water everywhere? How's the drainage on the job? All these little things tell the entire health of the project. As we're walking up to project sites, the first thing that we see is the fence and the signs. And is the fabric ripped, or does it pulled nice and tight? Or what does the fence look like? Because immediately as I walk through that gate, is the gate hinged over, or is it nice and plumb and level? And these are all things that set my mind right as I'm starting to enter the job site, either to go to work or to do inspections, or as an owner to be happy with my building. These are those cognizant things that are just planting seeds in people's heads as they're going through the project. Respect for tools is another way I like to look at respect for resources. I think it's important because trade workers really take care of their tools, right? It's often you'll see drills being put back in their case, nice toolboxes that are 5S arranged with labels and everything else. Trade workers take care of their tools. It's an extension cord. We're wrapping it up. We've got our own way. Everybody can argue about the best way to wrap up an extension cord, but we're getting it up off the ground. We're constantly looking for nicks in it. We're really taking care of our cords, our hand tools. We're putting them in hand and toolboxes. We've got drills. We take care of our tools. And again, that is having respect for the resource. I'm challenging our industry to take a different approach to this. Take a different mindset from stop talking about respect for people. One, you don't know what it means. Are you out on the job site? Are you asking open-ended, inquisitive questions to the trade workers to get them to think about other ways to do their projects? No, you're not. I know I rarely did that, but I tell you, when I did, I got crazy good innovations. When I allowed the people on the front lines and allowed isn't even the right word. When I enabled the people on the front lines to take ownership of their work and to add value back to me and to help me understand their work from a different line, that's what lean builders do. And so enabling other people to make that happen is everything. And that's the ultimate respect for people. I challenge you as an industry, when we can start respecting not just people, but when we start respecting materials, when we start respecting the equipment, when we start respecting the resources that we have out there, right? The materials, the equipment, the logistics, the tools, respecting everything around the people will ultimately feel valued and respected. I really want to challenge the industry's mind and say, is it really respect for people that we're all chasing? Or is it respect for resources that go above and beyond people and really think about the things that people use, the things that people flow, and the things that put overburden and unevenness on our workers on a daily basis? Because when we can think about how respect for all of those other things affects the person, then we have ultimate respect for people. And that's what lean builders do. They think outside the box, they think full system perspective and understand if I do X, Y, and Z, people will matter and they will matter on our job sites such that they will feel respected to speak up, to add value and innovate on the project sites because that's what lean builders do.